when you hear 600 wins, first of all, it feels like a number that's just impossible to get to.
And I'm old.
And it just that's just a lot of success. But I think anybody that has been doing this for a while knows that there are a lot of losses that come with that. I mean, you're not really just having 30-win seasons every year.
No.
And so there are a lot of losses, and you have to learn or know how to handle that with your team and have that pulse of your team to know how to do it correctly. So how do you handle defeat with your players?
I always think about that quote Dean Smith said, if every, if the whole thing about winning and losing is going to be, about life and death, you're going to die a lot. And and I'm the world's worst. I hate to lose, but I figured it out over the years. I hate seeing my guys fail. And so when they fail, I put that totally on me. And so I take it very personal. And I remember Joe Lombard's one time, he said, I feel like coaches don't feel like they're doing a good job if they don't suffer. If they don't think they're suffering a little bit. I think there's a lot of truth to that.
This is feeling too good right now. Something's wrong.
But so I kind of came up with something in my head that I thought, there's got to be something where we take the emotion out of it and we become problem solvers and we approach it as, what happened the other night is a problem to be solved. And we have to, and all of us spend our entire season doing this, but we have to eliminate all the things that cause us to lose. You're doing that all the time, but you really get them focused on. So especially when we get in a district of the playoffs, I'm like, look, there's three parts to this. There's the planning part. That's my part. I watch the film, come up with a game plan. I plan for us to be successful. And then there's the preparation part. That's our part together. Everybody's got to take ownership. This is where you demonstrate that you understand the plan. And I reinforce what we plan, but we have to do that part together. And then the last part is the execution part. That's your time. And so, so we can go back and there's times where I'll tell the team my plan was awful. I thought, I'll take it for example in the regional semifinals. I had 10 statted films on Huckabee, and we had a kid that was shooting 25% from the 3-point line. And that sucker lit us up. And he shot much better than 25%. And I told the kids, man, I'm like, we can live with what he makes. Crap, he was a difference in the game. So I'm not above saying, hey, my plan was bad, I shouldn't have done this. But more often than not, it's, our preparation was bad, which led to bad execution. But I think you take the emotion out and you come up with about the 2 or 3 things that you did awful, and then you're like, here's where we're at. And then I think, kind of hold their feet to the fire on it. And then you have things that are measurable where it's like, all right, we've had 3 practices in a row. And one of our things to get bricks for is all 5 not boxing out. And we're still having this problem a week later. Nobody's taking ownership of this. But I also feel like when we don't watch film for very long. I just don't think you can hold kids. I used to when we did, but it was probably dumb back then too. But I'll make 6 clips of what we did wrong, why, these are things that cause us to lose. And then we go out, and I think that gives them a chance to take ownership of it. Sometimes they don't, but I try to take the emotion out. It's just like, we got a problem to solve. We're all problem solvers. We all are in this together. We got to solve this problem together.
I've gone back and forth on the film thing, and I don't know where I was. Even to this moment, I don't know where I stand, because I've been the guy where 3 stretches or improvements that we need to make, and then 3 celebrations or good things that we've done. And a lot of times, like, areas we need to improve. This is exactly what we're talking about. Keep doing it. But then I was at TABC, and Grant McCaslin was talking, and he talked about how on Saturdays he would bring players in, he'd bring them food, and they'd sit and watch the whole game together. And he said he had all the guys in there because he wanted all of them to hear him coach and teach everybody. So it's not like just the best players are in there and you're spending time with them. It's like the bench is also doing that, and you're here. So like this last year, I think I probably watched film too much because it all depends on how you handle it. When I'm seeing us do things that either we've discussed, we've practiced, I feel like I can hold them accountable for. When I feel like when I see them do it wrong, I feel my blood just start to boil. And then all of a sudden it is one of those film sessions that, like, as a positive coach, like a guy that I want to be a positive coach, it's really negative. But then if I stick to the 3x3, then like you said before, I think I'm more likely to keep the emotion out. But I don't know, maybe that's something too to ask players. How do you feel like you benefit from film the most? Do you like short clips, or do you want to sit down with some donuts and kolaches and over breakfast and just kind of hash this whole thing out? I don't know.
Is when I don't know. I consider myself to be defensive minded, and so the first part of the film, especially now with Huddle, where you can filter all your defensive clips, that's what I watch first, and I use the little draw thing that you can use on Huddle. And it's funny that you say that, because the longer I watch it, the comments just get more sarcastic.
Well, that's not what we talked about, is it?
Yeah. I remember one time when we were running the amoeba, and it was my first year here, and the one kid that's supposed to be a hoop is outside the lane opposite the ball, and I've circled him like 10 times. And finally, I circled the ball rack, and I'm like, "You've been guarding that ball rack the entire first half," and then you're like, "That was kind of cruel." But a couple things on that. Coach Broadhurst's son was what's the guy at A&M?
Buzz Williams.
He was Buzz Williams' grad assistant when he was at Marquette, and he said that Buzz would tell him, I want 4 clips offensively of what they do. 4 clips. That was it. And he was like, are you sure? He's like, that's all they're going to remember. I want the 4 most important things.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to I was talking to Coach Peeler at Highland Park, and he came and actually did a shooting clinic with our kids last summer.
That's awesome.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And we were talking about film. And I thought this was a great idea. Once he kind of shows them how he watches film and what to look for, and he kind of gets them a little trained, then he will go in there and be like, all right, you 2 guys get your laptop. I want you to watch the first 10 possessions of the first quarter. You 2 guys get your laptop. I want you to watch the first 10 offensive possessions. And he'll just divide them up. And then and he'll be like, I'll leave the room, or whatever, and they go. He said, I'll come back in 20, 30 minutes later. All right, what do you got? What do you got? What do you got? He said, it's amazing how they become coaches and how they are really, it's like they're saying the exact same things I would be saying.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of taught them to look for those things. And so he'll be like, all right, group 1, write 3 things that we did well, three things we got to get better at. And then when it's all over, he's got a whole board full of stuff, and he'll go in. Well, you 2 guys have that in common. You both said that. Y'all had that. He said you come up with about 5 things. Well, it looks like that's what we need to hit Monday.
There's practice.
I think that's brilliant. Yeah, I think that's great. And the kids are doing it, and there's ownership in it.
Yeah.
And he said they enjoyed it. So when I was at Mumford, I did that. And I thought the kids really liked it. And I just remembered that. I should have done that more this year.
And I think too, especially when you set up a culture of trust, accountability, guys openly are able to communicate. They're bringing energy and spirit. I feel like a film session like that, it's like the next step. Like it's kind of a light bulb moment just in our talk is why haven't I been doing that before? Because I am very much against spoon feeding players, and like even organization. You have 15 seconds to get in 3 groups of 3. Whatever you're playing, like I don't create the teams. I don't do this or that. I occasionally, if we're scrimmaging, I might want to see different groups against each other, but yeah, so I do that in all the other areas.
Yeah.
But then in film, I'm running the whole show. You sit there, be quiet, and just sit back. And so that's a good nugget. I appreciate you sharing that.
The thing about film with me is I despise watching film of my own team. I hate it. I don't enjoy it. I just don't like it. I love watching other people's films.
Huh. I think I'm the opposite.
Really,
which
when
is
I get into district, man, I love watching other teams play and kind of what we're going to do against them. But
yeah.
I have to. I bought a desk in my house that raises so I can stand, because my wife's the one that suggested it, because she's like, I know when what you're watching is bad because you watch about 3 minutes and you start pacing, and then you go back and you start pacing. And I have found that like when I'm standing, I don't get as mad. Don't ask me why.
That's good.
But I don't like watching film myself. Or our team. I don't know why. I have to make myself do it. And like Joe Lombard, when he would go home, if I need to call him or something, I knew I'm like, he's watching film right now, having a blast. Him and Babs, his wife, are sitting there. They're just having the greatest time in the world. And on Sunday, it's like, well, I gotta watch film, so